Okay, that's a big question. We don't know yet what real impact open government and technology is going to have on democracy. We do already see that giving individual citizens a sense of autonomy with respect to their government is extremely important, a sense of agency, that government isn't something that happens to them, but something that they act on, understand, and are responsible for. It's almost a self-consciousness, because we're in this terrible period of doubt about democracy. People don't trust democratic institutions. So the dream, the hope is that technology, by revealing more about how these institutions work and giving citizens a way to act on them, will make the whole relationship richer. Because an autocratic government acts on its citizens in very minor, very narrow ways. It says, do this, do that. A democratic government should have many, many relationships with citizens, everything from service delivery to participation to understanding. So technology should make the democratic process richer. Yeah, it's great to talk about an ecosystem, because this is a very emergent, complex system where there are a bunch of elements. Let's say you've asked for 4 or 5 key elements. I would say they are opening data, so you see more about how government functions, allowing for citizen interaction with governments in terms of rulemaking and decisions about policies, having citizens do some things for themselves that they do better, like building applications that ride on open data that allow citizens to know how their neighborhood is working. That's part of it. And finally, accountability. Open data by itself doesn't mean too much, that beginning of the whole sequence, but holding your government accountable to its promises through transparency is another important element of this ecosystem. And then hooking the whole thing to this generation of young people who want to work to make the world better is a very exciting element of it. The government isn't something removed from all of us, it's something we can act on. Well, we're still in a pretty early stage, and I'm American, so I'm stuck with my own context, and I'm looking forward to hearing what's happening in other parts of the world. But in America, I picture this as a sort of many-sided, a warm room, but a many-sided room, where there are entrepreneurs inside government trying to reach through the walls to find communities of technologists to work with. There are private sector companies trying to reach through the walls to the government to see how they can help. There are especially cities seeing that with limited resources they need to act more like a platform and get help from technology providers. So there's a lot of burbling in all of these areas. It hasn't yet quite hit traction in a sense that it's changing outcomes for people's daily lives when it comes to fundamental things that people care about, like making their life more prosperous, enhancing educational opportunities that the government is helping with, or changing the gaps between rich and poor. These huge policy problems, health outcomes, all of that we're not yet quite seeing being affected by technology. There are people who may be more claiming a victory right now than I am. Right now I think we're still in pretty early days. There is a reason to have a public sector that isn't private, that doesn't operate from a profit motive alone, but operates because what they do is better for all citizens. There's something to civil service that's meaningful and shouldn't be outsourced to the private sector. So I see a lot of energy in private sector actors trying to figure out if there are services they can sell that will help citizens, but they will always have a profit motive at their core. I think there's a way to join these two incentives. Government wants to help citizens, private sector wants to make money. There are ways that could lift all boats. I wouldn't want to say that we can do away with government in favor of apps on an iPhone. I think that's inappropriate. I want to see this whole ecosystem using technology in a way that ultimately helps the public good. It's a facilitator. I see technology as changing 19th century government to 21st century government, but it's still government. It's still government. It's just that it's able to share data more easily, make things visible more easily, make people more conscious of their role as citizens. So I actually don't think the essential democratic relationship changes between the representative government and people. And I get worried when we throw that up and say, no, we're just going to give it to the private sector. So I see real change coming in awareness by citizens of their role as citizens. But it's more change, a retrograde change. It's going back to where we might have thought citizens were acting long ago, when they were part of a community that could see itself and knew that it was acting to help people around it. Making that kind of fellow feeling more possible using technology is where we're heading. I think this is just more like electricity, or having a train instead of a horse. It's just accelerating and enriching the process that already exists.